Hello everyone and welcome to Online Campus School. This information is taken from usafacts.org, which is government data to drive fact-based discussion. Our today's topic is how did the US reach 1.6 trillion in student debt? 42 billion people, or 1 in 6 American adults, currently carry a federal student loan. The nation's overall student debt reached 1.6 trillion in June 2019. What's behind this large number? According to data from the Department of Education National Center for Education Statistics (NCES), in 2017, approximately 46% of all full-time, first-time undergraduate students had student loans. Students attending public institutions which have lower tuition on average were less likely to be awarded loans, whereas more than 60% of students at private, for-profit and non-profit institutions were awarded loans. Here is a graph of percent of students awarded student loans. And also an average amount of student loans awarded constant 2017 to 2018 dollars. The average student loans awarded for the 2016 to 17 school years was $7,238, including loans for both private and public institutions. But when broken out by institution type, private institutions have a higher loan average than public institutions. Since 2000, the average loan amount has increased 35% after adjusting for inflation, while the percentage of enrolled students awarded loans has only increased about 5 percentage points. So the next is, what types of loans do students receive? So here is another graph for percent receiving student loans by type. The federal government awards most student loans during the recession. However, the percent of students receiving loans from non-federal lenders increased to 20%. It fell back to 6% in 2016. Here you can see the breakdown to 2016 downward in the graph. Here the Department of Education offers some major type of federal student loans. So this includes subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans and plus loans. Subsidized loans help students who demonstrate financial need, with the government subsidizing the full cost of the loans by paying interest on the loan while the student is still in school. Unsubsidized loans are made to students regardless of financial need but do not offer subsidized interest payments while in school. Plus loans are the eligible parents for the education of their dependent undergraduate children or graduate professional students. So according to the Department of Education, for the most recent date of first disbursement, federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans had a fixed interest rate of 5% and direct plus loans had a fixed interest rate of 8%. Students seeking a federal loan must complete the free application for Federal Student Aid (FAFSA) to determine their eligibility. Eligibility is based on the estimated cost of attending the student's institution as well as the expected contribution from the student's family. So the next point is, what does this mean for student debt? Many students graduated in 2016 with higher debt than they did in 2009, the height of the recession. Overall, students at public and private non-profit institutions graduated with more debt. However, students at private for-profit institutions graduated with less debt on average. Here is a clear image of some distribution of universities' median debt for students who completed their degree with public institutions, with private non-profit institutions and private for-profit institutions. You can clearly see the great difference between these three. And some important note is, median student debt data is for students receiving some form of federal aid, including federal grants, loans or work-study aid, and does not represent students not receiving federal aid.
Hey everyone, welcome to this commercial break section. Here is best online shopping store, which you can visit at teespring.com. Check all of our courses and creations at onlinecampusschool.com. Also, we have some great books and ebook on Amazon and the great courses too.
And the next one is, who repays student debt the soonest? Here is a complete and average repayment rate of borrowers by period of repayment and institution type A table which consists of institution type, public for 3-year, 5-year and 7-year, and private non-profit for 3, 5 and 7 years, and the last one is private for profit 3, 5 and 7 years. Here you can clearly see the percentage for 3 years and for 5 years and 7 years. While students at private non-profit typically take on more debt than students at public institutions, students who graduated from private non-profits are more likely to repay their debt sooner than their public institutions counterparts. Less than two-thirds of students who had taken on debt to graduate from a for-profit school had received it within 7 years, compared to over 80% of students who attend non-profit schools. Here is a clear note: repayment data is for students receiving some form of federal aid, including federal grants, loans, or work-study aid, and does not represent students not receiving federal aid. Of the borrowers who graduated and began repaying loans in 2015, 11% or 5,300 or 5,31,653 students defaulted within 3 years. To break that down, this rate was lower at public and private non-profit institutions: 10% 2,69,876 borrowers and 7% for 78,706 borrowers respectively. It was higher at for-profit institutions: 16% for 1,82,686 borrowers, Department of Education. So nationally, the default rate has increased since peaking at 15% in 2020. So the next one is how important is student debt to the country overall. So you can clearly see in the graph total debt held by Americans excluding mortgages. So the Federal Reserve estimates that national student loan debt reached 1.6 trillion in June 2019. The Department of Education holds 1.48 trillion of the total students loan debt as of June 2016, so Department of Education. However, it's also useful to understand the size of student debt in comparison to other forms of debt Americans taken on. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which estimates students' loan debt using credit bureau data rather than lender data, estimate that there is 1.5 trillion in student loan debt, which is about 15% of all mortgage debt. However, student loan debt outgrew both auto loan and credit card debt between 2009 and 2010. Student loan debt is now 70% larger than credit card debit. So here is a graph. Total debt held by Americans excluding mortgages is a complete detail of as the student debt grows, it touches more Americans than ever before. According to the Federal Reserve Bank surveys of consumer finance, the percentage of families holding student loan debt increased from 8.9% in 1989 to 22.3% in 2016. After adjusting for inflation, the average amount of student loan debt for student loan borrowers has more than tripled in that time, from $10,260 to $34,290. In 2016, the average amount of student debt for families with student debt was almost double the average amount of auto loan debt and more than 6 times the average amount of credit card debt. In other words, student loan debt has become the most significant form of non-residential debt for many American families. Now here you can see the percent holding debt by type and debt amount for debt holders. So you can clearly see the difference between these two graphs. What does this graph show us? This graph shows complete detail. Several Democratic presidential primary candidates propose eliminating almost all American student debt, a proposal that could cost more than $1 trillion. Who would benefit most from this? Among lower income families, 1 in 5 will benefit. Among higher income families, that increases to 1 in 4 families who would benefit. So here is a complete detail about student loans held by income group. Income group on the left column and all families, bottom 20%, second 20% and so on, and on the right side with percentage with student loan. For all families it goes on 23.2%, for bottom 20%, 0 to 8K dollars 19.2%, and in the meanwhile on the right side average student loan among those with loans, and for all families 23.2% and 34,844 average student loans and so on. You can clearly see the difference for all these terms. I hope you enjoy the video. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.